There's just so much more to hear.
Download our podcasts at DubaiI1038.com. Behind the Wheel.
Two guests with us, Ian Beatty and Bill Carter from Autodata. Ian, nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Good to have you back. Ian, Bill, nice to see you as well.
Good afternoon.
Enough of the championship football news. We're going to talk cars now, but actually, just let me say, if you have a question about buying a new car, I feel like we discussed this a lot, but Ian, you said, you've got a friend just come to Dubai.
Yep.
First thing he said, obviously he's going to go to you as the car guy, but it's how do I do it, what goes on. So it's clearly a topic we need to get back into.
Yeah, I'd have been disappointed if you didn't pick the phone up. That is for sure. That is for sure. Yeah, it's such a minefield out there. You know, he didn't know whether to lease. He's here for a 3-year contract. Didn't know whether to lease. Didn't know whether to buy new. Didn't know whether to buy used. My advice was pretty clear. Go for something that's certified pre-owned. I think you've heard about me talk about certified pre-owned before. You know, maybe a year old, low mileage. It will still have warranty. Maybe you can purchase a service and maintenance contract. Nice low monthly payments. Why wouldn't you? You still get all of the backing and the service that you do from a franchise distributor.
Coming here when you're not from the UAE, it's a bit of a shock. The car market here is really, really different. When I wanted to get a car, you know, I wouldn't have necessarily gone down the same channels I would have at home. So it is, I can totally see why your friend has come to you. And there's so many comparisons, and every street you go along, there's an advert for a deal, whether it's free warranty, free servicing, and you know there's small print, but you're driving past, you can't see what it is, and where on earth do you start?
Well, the thing is, and I think we always have to remember is, whenever you speak to a salesman, this is not being disrespectful to salespeople, but they always say, "Oh, the best deal we've got on at the moment is." Okay, and then they bombard you, they feature dump you with an offer. That doesn't mean it's the best deal for you. What car do you want? How long are you going to be here? What sort of mileage are you doing? Is it an SUV you're looking for? Is it something smaller? And all of these questions, you know, should be asked, rather than just say, well, I'll tell you what, we've got 30,000 dirhams off this BMW M5 at the moment, but actually you want a Toyota Yaris. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
This is the thing, isn't it? But you've got to be able to cut through that, and there are so many deals. Bill, you've just written or are writing an article for one of the newspapers, and essentially that's what you're trying to answer, somebody who wants to buy a new car, but is sort of mystified by all the deals available. And how do you work out, sort the wheat from the chaff?
Well, I think that, you know, the first thing the person has to decide, are they actually buying a car or are they just buying an offer? You know, and as Ian said, what's the point? You know, I've got a great offer on a Toyota Land Cruiser. In actual fact, all I can afford is a Nissan Micra. You know, and that's the situation. People see the headline offers, but don't actually know what they want. You know, my advice usually when people first come out here is, if you're not sure what you want to buy, do a shortlist and then go and hire one for a day. You know, and just see. You know, as I've said before, does it fit in the garage? Can you get all the kids in it?
And that sounds ridiculous. Does it fit in the garage? But you gave us that story of somebody who bought the car and it wouldn't fit.
It wouldn't fit in their
the
garage. You know, they had a big SUV. They bought another big SUV. They got it in the garage alongside and they couldn't open the doors.
That actually happened to me in the UK when I was a car salesman. Sorry to let that loose on air that I used to sell cars, but I did. And the guy bought the car, didn't want to test drive it. No, I'll be fine, no problem. And it turned out that he was actually too big for the driver's seat. The seat was too narrow. So he brought the car back a week later saying, this car's killing me. Luckily enough, it was from Renault, what was called Renault to go, right. And it did mean that within 30 days you could come and bring your car back even if you didn't like the colour and swap it. So he had that to fall back on, but if he hadn't have had that to fall back on, he'd have been in a bit of a pickle.
Well, this was the thing. I bought a new car 2.5 years ago, and I thought I had a shortlist of 3 or 4, and I sat in one, and I could not get in the seat. It was a nippy little sort of hatchback type thing, but I couldn't fit in the seat. So I thought, well, you know, there's not much I can do with that. So it immediately struck that off. But if you buy something without even test driving, how many people buy cars without test driving?
You would not believe it.
Obvious.
It is. I think we discussed this before, that it baffles me when we get people chatting to us, and a lot of it will come really from doing interviews here on the Business Breakfast or articles in the paper, and they will ring just for a piece of advice, which is fine.
Sure.
But it baffles me how many people will buy a car without test driving it, and I just do not understand that at all.
When I first came here, let me just when I first came here, back in January 2008, I had to introduce test drive as part of our sales process, because it was all about processing the customer as quickly as possible, because you had someone else lining up to buy a car. So why would you waste time test driving a customer when you could just take a down payment and then process the customer and move on to the next one? That was obviously pre-2009 when everything fell off a cliff. But for me, part of our what we call our qualitative measurements are that you must test drive the customer, because are they buying the right car? And that's, you have to help them with that decision.
Yeah.
But it is really a minefield as well. There's lots of things like that you maybe do differently in the country you're from. Registration, for example, looking at insurance. These are things that maybe at home you choose the car you want, then you ring up the insurance company, and it's all quite a fluid process. But there's a very specific order you need to follow here, and not many people are even aware of that.
No, they're not. And I think that's one of the things that we're looking to do with our website when it goes live next month, is to put the education process on there to give the consumer some guidance about what they need to do and in which order. That some of the pitfalls, I mean, a classic that's happening quite a lot now is everybody buys an SUV, whether it be a big SUV or a small SUV or crossover type vehicle, and they automatically think it's four-wheel drive. And a huge number are not.
Sure.
So they trundle out into the desert and then wonder why they get stuck. And they never think to ask the question, is this four-wheel drive?
And I think there, Bill, sometimes more to the point is the salesman hasn't asked the question, are you going off-road in this car? If you're going off-road in it, then this isn't one for you. You need a 4x4.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise it was a 4x4. No, it's 4x2.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the opposite end of the spectrum. You know what I'm like. My husband's a car person in our house, and I'm not great. But we've got a car that's, I think it's 4x4. I'm not sure, but it's not going anywhere near any sand because I don't want it to get messy. And I don't want it to get that dirty, damaged.
See what I got? Yeah. No, you're right. Your car is definitely 4x4, by the way. But
okay.
So you'd be okay in the gym. I assure you. But people do. So people are not making decisions. They're just making decisions based on, well, that's nice and shiny and that's great. And salesmen aren't helping. So how do you change that? How do you change from the classic? And I know this is a horrible phrase, the classic car salesman in inverted commas, to somebody who is concerned that you get.
I think I don't want to do the salespeople a disservice here. There's been massive improvements in what we would call a sales process or an in-showroom experience over the years, and there has. There are some distributors out there that do an absolutely fantastic job. I think when you go to the smaller independent used car dealers, you basically do get a very old school, rough and ready type of sales process, kind of what colour do you want? It's I can give you 10,000 dirhams discount if you buy it today, kind of thing. Which is what used to happen, but back in 2008. So my advice is distributors. They're more professional. They're well trained. They're trained in sales process. They're trained to ask the questions. And if you don't think they're asking enough questions, then move on and go and talk to someone else.
Here you go from Kevin. Even a minor difference like front-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive makes a big difference. Unfortunately, I learnt it the hard way. Admits Kevin. I mean, standard things like that. What we're going to do is try and traverse the minefield of warranties and free servicing and insurance and registration. Cut through that in a moment. But if you have a question for either Ian or for Bill or for both, they're here from Autodata. We'll find out what you're doing with vehicle identification numbers as well. I know that was something you wanted to bring in to the conversation. But get in touch with us either by text 4001 via the free app or call 423 1010. It is Behind the Wheel.
We want to hear from you. Find us on Facebook. Tweet at Dubai Eye 1038 FM.
Drive live, and it is Behind the Wheel. Two guests with us.
Behind the Wheel.
Ian Beatty and Bill Carter, both from Autodata here in Dubai. I wanted to come back to, essentially, we're looking at how you buy a car, new or used, how you go through the new car minefield. This is an article that you've worked on and it's been published in one of the papers, Bill, but I think it's an interesting question. It comes up regularly. Mystified, this person is, by all the deals offering warranties for 5 years, free servicing, free insurance, free registration. If you're buying a new car, you want all of those, don't you?
Well, not necessarily. Okay. Yeah. And it comes down to the first question is, how long are you going to keep that car?
Right.
Okay. So, for argument's sake, if you've got the option of having a 4-year service contract, but you're only actually going to keep the car 2 years, can you transfer the other 2 years when you sell the car? If not, then you don't want it. Ask for a discount instead. If you can transfer it, what is the transfer process? I mean, Ian got involved in a case after an interview he did on the Business Breakfast, and I'll let Ian explain what the situation was.
Yeah. The short of it was that the lady bought a car off another consumer, and the warranty automatically transferred with the VIN number, which is correct, and she rightly assumed as well that the service and maintenance contract also transferred with the VIN number. Right. However, written into the small print of the service and maintenance contract was that before that could happen, the vehicle had to be inspected by the distributor, and that didn't happen. So when she went to service the car, assuming that she was going to get free service, she was charged for it. The bottom line is that she SMS'd into the show. We took it up with our friends at the distributor, and they were absolutely fantastic. Spoke to the lady directly. The managing director of the distributor got involved, and now she's got extremely cheap servicing up to 2020.
But in the sales process of that car, consumer to consumer, my guess is the previous owner would have said, "Oh, there's a maintenance contract. That's a selling point."
Yeah, absolutely, because most these 5-year warranties and 5-year service contracts, they all cost. Okay, they all come out of the margin, or they come from money that's been given by the manufacturers to the distributor to make some kind of offer that's going to encourage the customer to buy a car. So there's always a cost to them. A standard manufacturer's warranty is 3 years. So if somebody's offering a 5-year warranty, that will be a bolt-on of 2 years that costs money. So if you don't want a 5-year warranty, you don't need it, ask for a discount.
And you wouldn't think to do that, though, would you? NLT, would you think to do? I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would, because you look at all these things, and basically what they're saying is, this is how much we're willing to give the car away for. So if I tell you it's this price, but I'm throwing this in, you're going to take it. So what you have to do is say, look at the value of the servicing or the warranty and see, well, it might be worth just getting the cash off it and me paying for it as I go along. So it's about your personal situation, finding the balance. But then I'm a bit of a weirdo, and I would do a bit of research before I bought anything like that. But funny, we've just had a couple of texts in, speaking of your problem solving, so you might be able to sort this one out. One car is about shipping a car to the UAE, and that's all the text message says, no name. But Rahul has said, I'm planning to invest in a Mustang or a Challenger, US spec. What things should I keep in mind before the purchase, and how does the insurance for these US spec cars work?
Right, first this is a fan. I love this.
Oh, great.
I
Falling straight into our trap.
I love it. First and foremost, 60% of all US imports are previously salvage, especially stuff like Mustang,
especially the muscle cars.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. What I would say is, first and foremost, find the car that you're looking for, get in contact with us directly, and we will do you an enormous favour, and we will run the VIN number for you, and what we'll do is, that VIN number, that VIN check will cost you 49 dirhams, and we'll be able to tell you the full history of that vehicle in the United States of America.
So you're saying save yourself a lot of heartache.
Oh,
yes.
Believe me. That is where the minefield is at the moment. We've been working on VIN check for a considerable length of time now. The consumer website is literally millimetres away from being ready. The B2B is already being used by insurance companies as we speak. So anyone that goes for motor insurance, the VINs are being run to see if they've got a US salvage history. This particular guy, if he wants to contact us directly, I'm more than happy to help him out.
Okay, Rahul. Is there any benefit, Bill, aside from, I guess it must be cheaper to bring a Challenger or a Mustang over here? Is there any benefit to buying a US spec one over buying a car in this country? Because both of those are available.
Yeah, but no, there's lots of disadvantages in that because that vehicle is not GCC specification, how is it going to cope with the heat and humidity and the dust in this region? You know, people do not realise, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, there's no difference between the specs. There's huge differences. And I think this is one of the problems. The other issue is insurance. Most of the big insurance companies will not insure a grey import. And anything that is brought in that is not GCC spec is classed as a grey import.
Okay, so no advantages and many disadvantages.
Yes.
Okay, more text.
Yeah, we've got quite a few texts coming in. Fuad said, I've recently arrived in the UAE, living in Dubai but working in Abu Dhabi, so the car's going to be travelling that distance, 90,000 kilometres a year. Lease or buy?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah.
I'd say first and foremost, it's not about leasing or buying. I think it's about what. And I would always go for something like a Camry. The reason for that is there's a reason why the RTA uses Camrys, because they can do 500,000 kilometres in their sleep and never switch the engine off and just keep going and going and going and going and going. Leasing or buying, I would really weigh up the options. How much is it to lease based on those mileage parameters, and then consider the depreciation, massive depreciation on a vehicle that's got hell of a lot of mileage on it in a short period of time.
Okay, another text in here. Similar, but a slightly different vehicle, I guess. Syed says, hey guys, my budget's 150,000 dirhams. Good budget. I drive about 40,000 a year. I'm looking at a pre-owned SUV that's not too expensive in terms of servicing. Any thoughts, Bill?
Any of the more respected SUVs, you know, that's a good budget. You know, you can...
That's a new budget almost, isn't it?
Yeah, you certainly get a really good pre-owned Prado, Land Cruiser, Patrol. You know, go for something that has a reputation of being able to stand up to the conditions out here. And, you know, most of the big Japanese stuff is the way I would go, personally. I would go, that sort of money, I would go for Prado, Land Cruiser, Nissan Patrol, Pathfinder. You get a brand new Pathfinder, you know, for that sort of money.
You would,
yeah,
quite right.
Without a doubt. So, you know, that's a good budget. It's a really good budget.
The final question here, final observation actually more than anything. I found that a lot of used car dealers here want a deposit, a hefty deposit. This person quotes 5,000 dirhams for a test drive, or won't even offer a test drive.
Somebody go somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. If somebody wants that kind of a deposit,
Sorry.
Yeah.
No. That's a quick answer.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah. No.
that's
go
what I
somewhere
like
else.
about you two.
Walk out the showroom.
Ian Beatty and Bill Carter are from Autodata. Good to see you guys. Thank you for coming.
And you, great, thank you.
There's just so much more to hear.
Download our podcasts at DubaiEye1038.com.